You wake up on time. You check your phone. You make coffee. You do the things, the same order, the same motions. Nothing unusual. And somewhere between the second sip and the scroll, you feel it. Not sadness, not anxiety, just nothing. But it's not peaceful nothing. It's not rest. It's not quiet relief. It's the kind of nothing that sits there, not moving, not leaving. And you can't look away from it. But you can't look at it either. When someone asks, "How are you?" you say, "I'm good." And it's true. You are good. You're not falling apart. You're not in crisis. You're not breaking down. You're functioning. You show up. You respond. You handle things. From the outside, nothing looks wrong. But somewhere underneath that, there's a question you can't ask. Not because you don't want to. Because you don't know what it is yet. It doesn't have words. It doesn't form sentences. It just sits as a vague sense that something is missing. You've read the books. You've done the journaling. You've tried the practices, morning routines, gratitude lists, quiet moments, and they worked. For a while, things felt lighter, clearer, more intentional. But now it feels like you're just going through them, repeating what once helped. Doing the right things because they're the right things, not because they touch anything. And something underneath all of it stays untouched. There's a kind of emptiness that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't crash in. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't interrupt your life. It just exists. In the space between what you're doing and what you're feeling, between action and meaning, you're living correctly. On paper, it works, but not fully. You know what you should do. You know how things are supposed to go. But what you want doesn't show up as clearly. And the strangest part is that you can't even form the question. People ask, "What do you need?" And you pause. Not because you're hiding anything, but because there's nothing solid to point to. You think, "I don't know," not as an answer, as the entire problem. Because if you knew, at least there would be a direction. But there isn't. Just this open, undefined space where something should be. There's a certain exhaustion that comes from being told there's always something to fix. Set boundaries. Find your purpose. Practice self-care. And you've done that. You have boundaries. You do take care of yourself. You've made adjustments. You've tried to be intentional. And still, the feeling doesn't change. Because maybe it's not something that needs fixing. Maybe it's not broken at all. Maybe it's just there. There's a sense that you're watching your life instead of being inside it. Days move forward. Conversations happen. Decisions get made. And you're present enough to participate. But not close enough to feel rooted. Like you're going through the motions of being a person, while the person inside stays somewhere else. Not gone, just distant. You're doing things, thinking thoughts, making decisions, choosing what to say, choosing what not to say. But there's a distance between the action and the feeling, between the choice and the wanting. Like you're playing a part, and you've gotten very good at it. So good that sometimes you forget there's a difference. Most of your day just happens. You respond to messages. You do your work. You show up where you're expected. You move from one thing to the next. And somewhere in that movement, something stays quiet, not absent, not gone. Just quiet. Waiting without asking. There's something you already notice, not as a thought, not as a conclusion. Somewhere below the surface, a recognition that doesn't explain itself. It doesn't argue. It doesn't convince. It just appears from time to time. And when it does, nothing needs to be added to it. But it doesn't give answers either. When things slow down, even slightly, the distance becomes more noticeable, not as a problem, not as something urgent, just as a space between what's happening and how it's landing, between movement and meaning. It isn't dramatic. It doesn't demand a response. It's simply there. You're moving through a space between two versions of yourself, the one that shows up and the one that stays quieter, the one that knows how to function and the one that doesn't rush, both present, not fully meeting, and no one else can see that space. This feeling, this sense that something is off without being clear, it doesn't push, it doesn't demand, it doesn't give instructions, it just stays, waiting. Nothing needs to be solved here. Nothing needs to be named. Nothing needs to be fixed. There is just this moment. And the noticing of it,